Hey, guess what? This video is a collab between me, Mr. Backrooms, Jakeopod, and Mr. Ferrante himself. Anyways, let's begin.
Pretty good.
Level 1, also known as the halls. Level classification. Difficulty 1 out of 5. This level is desolate and characterized by a lack of sustenance or materials. Long-term survival is unrealistic, and aspects of this level have adverse mental effects. After a great enough time spent in the level, it will become psychologically impossible to distinguish between imagined and real sounds. Entity count 0 out of 5. Not applicable. Chaos gradient 1 out of 5. Halls change rarely. Loops can appear. The layout is non-linear. Lights and walls can be broken. The Bassett-Fraser Index 0.1 out of 5. This level, though disorienting, is still very livable in comparison to other levels. Description: Level 1 is an infinitely expansive space that crudely resembles a barren office. The walls are textured with mono-yellow wallpaper, and an oily red liquid endlessly drips through the cracks between ceiling panels. The beige shag carpeting is always damp, occasionally forming puddles. Drinking this substance causes bodily mutations and vulnerability to mental deterioration. The level is made up of rectangular rooms with extremely variable proportions. Rooms may be extremely wide, impossibly tall, or too narrow for anyone to fit through. Rooms are frequently larger than the confines of the surrounding area should allow, suggesting a level of spatial overlap. There are many floors of Level 1, each separated by about 20 meters and hundreds of layers of the same damp shag carpeting. Alternate floors are accessible through massive cylindrical shafts with steel-plated walls stretching through dozens of floors. These shafts can be found every few hundred rooms behind thick steel doors that usually require a crowbar or similar tool to pry open. The shafts have a constant updraft of warm, damp air and vents dotted across the walls, damp carpet fluff puffing through the grates, and liquid dripping out. Blue bulb lights appear within the walls at regular intervals, lighting the shafts dimly. It is possible to descend these shafts to reach lower floors. However, the floors do not have any distinct characteristics or markings that would delineate any orientation. It is common for explorers to descend floors and still find rooms with identifying markings or items from rooms in above floors. Descending the shafts using ropes or other means may be a necessary escape in dire situations. However, it is nigh impossible to ascend through the shafts due to the slippery walls and lack of protrusions. Precursor checkpoint terminals commonly exist within shafts, at the center of gridded steel platforms that extend from the shaft's circumference. It is believed that shafts do not have vertical ends. Additionally, fluorescent ceiling lights fill Level 1 with a constant humbuzz permeating the air with ambient noise at unnerving volume. These lights are often broken, glass shattered on the ground and wires dangling and bulbs dangling. The humming sound is known to cause various psychological effects such as auditory hallucinations and stressed disorientation. It is advised to take refuge in the shafts where there are no fluorescent lights when one is starting to feel these effects. Some sections of Level 1 show signs of extreme damage, as if abandoned partially through demolition. Plaster chunks from the walls are torn out and left on the floor, usually from a pickaxe, but claw marks have also been observed. The beams of the walls are often torn and broken, showing signs of stretching, as if the level were supported from above rather from below. Some sections of wallpaper appear to be drooping from the water damage and/or being torn from the wall. Objects do not appear in this level very often, leading to the risk of dehydration and starvation for those that enter this level without supplies. Bodies tend to disappear from where they died. Where they go is unknown. Communities. Uncb Outpost Cockney. The Uncb capital of Level 1, a population of approximately 100 citizens, consists of a group of rooms with doors created by the inhabitants, preventing accidental entry. BRU Outpost Batitri, a research outpost established by the BRU when the nature of the walls of the level was discovered to be anomalous. It became more of a residential outpost after those experiments concluded, now numbering about 150 residents. JRC Outpost Takashiri. When the UNCB was established and the Jade Razor clan joined, it was mandated that every faction must have an outpost that could be accessed by citizens of other factions at any time. So they established Takashiri on Level 1. It has a small population and is hardly used, but there is always one prominent member of the faction, never more or less. Assorted camps. These camps are spread very sparsely across Level 1. These camps are typically abandoned from years of neglect, plastered with a faded logo. The active camps are run by people who live in Level 1. Keep in mind, a majority of these are private property and better to be ignored. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 1 and the backrooms in general can only be entered from an outside universe. Another way to enter Level 1 is via its sublevels. Exits. The only exits from Level 1 lead to Level 2 via a special staircase or Level 1's sublevels.
Level 2 is a series of seemingly infinitely long concrete brick walls, running parallel to one another and connected occasionally by short, sideways running halls. The halls have no ceiling, and the walls appear to extend upwards indefinitely. Frequent beams and catwalks cut across and run through the space overhead. The beams often have fluorescent lights strung from them, constantly flickering. The infinitely receding beams hung with lights have often been likened to a night sky filled with stars. This infinite web of beams and lights has been dubbed the Kabul Matrix, and is a fairly common lighting system in the backrooms, appearing in several levels. Additionally, the catwalks can be used as a fast way to traverse the level, although they lack a connection to the ground, so they are difficult to access, and are infested with much higher concentrations of entities. The long hallways have been noted to curve slightly in the distance, implying they are in fact circular and that the level has a center, although this center has never been reached. Level 2 is made up of grimy stone brick walls with a dirty concrete floor. The floor is carpeted in some areas using a carpet similar to that of Level 1 and is stained or covered in plaster in others. Some walls are cracked or broken, made with cinder blocks, or have caulk in them. Large amounts of dust cover the floor and most objects, although it is not organic dust but rather stone dust. Stirring up the stone dust is advised against, as it will fill the air and cause breathing problems for anyone in the area. Similar to Level 1, Level 2 has leaks of an oily red liquid, which runs from cracks in the walls and can occasionally fall from the beams. This liquid is slightly acidic in nature and causes nausea and vomiting when consumed. It can discolor concrete and burn hairs on contact. Many areas are contaminated with radon. These areas do not seem to grow, and the ones near settlements have been sectioned off with yellow caution tape. It is rumored that the center of Level 2 contains a large vault of supplies. This rumor varies from person to person, with some people claiming to have seen it. Some people claim it resupplies itself and others claim that it is limited. As of this entry, the Brew and the Bia are currently mounting an expedition through the catwalks to the center. Communities CGS Outpost Kalbi, the Cult of the Golden Sword, is a relatively unorganized faction, and they are comprised mainly of treasure hunting hopefuls, meaning the majority of their outposts are on faraway levels, where riches are to be found. Kalbi is among the only exceptions, established as a political base upon their joining of the Uncb. It is populated by at most 50 citizens, though that number fluctuates frequently. Liberated Outpost Ajfiris is the main base of operations for the liberated, housing at any given moment approximately 200 permanent residents. As the liberated are major players in the political game of the backrooms, Ajfiris is heavily guarded at all times, and a significant portion of their high-ranking officials reside there. Assorted camps around level 2 are typically around the same areas. One very large camp lays abandoned and has a massive cloud of radon blocking the entry. Other camps are spread out and are apart from others. Entrances and entrances level 2 can be entered by taking a special staircase in level 1. The staircase is typically marked with basement or below ground floor. Doors around level 1 also enter into level 2. These doors are marked with a down arrow. Any of this level's sublevels are also entrances. The only exits from level 2 are hatches that lead even further down into level 3. Other exits include level 2 sublevels. Oh yeah!
Level 3, also known as the sub-basement. Level classification. Difficulty 3 out of 5. Flooded rooms, rock bursts, drafts of air, and heat that can boil people alive make this level difficult to traverse. Entity count 2 out of 5. Has a medium entity count, though they usually avoid humans. Chaos gradient 1 out of 5. This level contains random drill shafts and floods with liquid. The Bassett-Fraser Index 2 out of 5. This level is anomalous, even more so than previous quantum stable levels. Description: Level 3 is an infinite subterranean complex filled with pipes and machinery. The majority of the complex is a network of service tunnels filled with pipes transporting various fluids, most commonly an anomalous coolant. The conditions of the underground match those of the Earth's crust at an approximate depth of 20 miles, or around 30 kilometers. The main purpose of the network of pipes is to keep the complex at habitable temperatures in the boiling underground, so touching them is not advised. The rock is under enormous pressure and if disturbed may spall violently in a rock burst, sending red-hot fragments flying at high speeds in all directions. The extreme temperature difference between the walls and cooling pipes has been known to create powerful weather patterns within the tunnels, including dust devils strong enough to throw about a person. The halls are narrow and cut directly from the rock, apparently by means of tunnel boring machines. They connect between a number of vertical drills and various processing facilities, transporting power, coolant, and occasionally molten magma. The level extends infinitely upwards, but only a finite depth downwards. However, the machinery of the level seems to be continuously boring out deeper and deeper tunnels, extending itself further into the superheated rock like an enormous von Neumann machine. If the entire level was constructed this way, it has to be assumed that it's been operating for an infinite amount of time. Vacuum-sealed doors are seen commonly throughout level 3. These doors are always in rows of 2. Opening 2 at the same time can cause a large draft of wind, and it's highly advised not to do this. The area between 2 doors is typically flooded or filled with a deadly fungus. No entities have been spotted roaming the halls in level 3. One type of entity lives in the pipes, going by the name of crawlers. These pipes can be traversed, but it's recommended to have a weapon and travel away from dents and noises. Do keep in mind that these pipes can fill with any liquid at any time. Level 3, being devoid of any objects, makes supplies necessary for further exploration. Communities. Due to the difficulty of this level, permanent civilizations are unfeasible and impossible to sustain for lengthy periods of time. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 3 can be entered by going down hatches in Level 2. Any of this level's sublevels are also entrances. Exits. The only exits from Level 3 are service doors with the drill shafts. These doors lead to Level 4. Other exits include Level 3's sublevels.
Burgers, the fries, a shake or a friend. Burgers, the fries, a shake or a friend. Burgers, the fries, a shake or a friend. Burgers, the fries, a shake or a friend.
Level 4, the electrical station level classification survival difficulty, 5 out of 5. The entire level is hazardous. There is also notably aggressive entities. Entity count, 1 out of 5 common entities inhabit this level, they are rare but aggressive. Chaos gradient, 5 out of 5. This level has a chaotic environment that will actively work against you. Bassett-Fraser index, 3.6 out of 5. This level is very anomalous, even more so than the previous levels. Description: Level 4 is a series of maintenance corridors in the backroom's electrical grid. The level is filled with wiring which supplies power to the entire backrooms via entangled batteries. The concrete halls have a ceiling lined with fluorescent lights, although it is difficult to see under the mass of wires and conduits. The walls often boast banks of entangled batteries, transmitting power to devices all across the backrooms. As the source of all power, the level is critical to the backroom's existence and will defend itself against interlopers through malicious malfunctions such as exploding transformers, electrical arcing, and lighting failures at critical moments. The hallways are covered in what would be considered highly dangerous electrical and fire hazards. Large pools of water that are electrified can be found. Many of the wires running through the level are exposed and without insulation. The power grid is organized much like a typical power grid, with power lines originating from substations that receive their power from electrical stations. Unlike a typical power grid, the electrical stations do not receive their power from a power plant but rather receive it from superstations which are believed to receive it from mega stations and so on, although this is only speculated. The power grid is fractally organized, and the fractal is believed to continue infinitely outwards, with indefinite layers of larger and larger power stations, each powered by the next like an infinite Ponzi scheme. By taking out a large enough station, entire levels could be deprived of power. Offices can be found around level 4 containing highly valuable food and electronics. These offices are spread out quite sparsely and are typically traps. Exploring this level is ill-advised and can lead to death. Communities. Due to the difficulty of this level, permanent civilizations are unfeasible and impossible to sustain for lengthy periods of time. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 4 can be entered by going through service doors in level 3 or by touching a rusty pipe on level 13. Any of the level's sub-levels are also entrances. Exits. The only exits from level 4 is the aforementioned offices. Staying in these rooms for 24 hours leads to level 5. Other exits include level 5 sub-levels.
I thought we agreed to put that jungle business behind us. It was mating season. How could I have known she was your sister?
Level 5 is an infinite, empty office in a perpetual thunderstorm. All the lights in this level are off and the only light is from the windows. The office shows considerable non-Euclidean properties, including hallways that cross through each other without intersecting, multiple rooms that occupy the same space, and most famously the windows to the outside present in every single room. The outside of the level is an infinite empty void containing only the room it is viewed from and the ever-present thunderstorm. Both the rain and the clouds of the thunderstorm are composed of almond water, making almond water very easily obtainable in level 5, simply by opening a window and allowing it to blow in. It is said that season changes occur once every decade. It is presumed to change in 7 years. The main danger of level 5 is the storm itself, which can occasionally become quite violent and even destroy rooms. Gale force winds and common waterspouts have been known to form in the Great Storm beyond. The storm frequently destroys rooms, and opening the door to one of the destroyed rooms will reveal a torn-off section of the building, exposing the interior to violent winds. Rooms appear to regenerate when destroyed, although this process takes several days to complete. Level 5 is entirely devoid of entities, and as such it is considered easy to explore for the most part. Despite being one building, rooms can be flooded singularly and it is quite common. Typical office supplies, decorations, and machines can be found around this level, making it a good source of supplies. Many communities are based here. Communities and outpost, Hartkirchen outpost that serves as a resting place for new wanderers, before they enter the trials of levels 6 to 9. With a population of about 200, some wanderers choose to just remain as permanent residents of the outpost and avoid the dangers of the following levels. Liberated Outpost Monorish was established by the Liberated in an effort to expand their reach, as level 5 is a common stopping point for new travelers. The effort was successful, as they have seen an extreme increase in citizenship since the establishment of Monorish. Assorted camps. Many camps are found in various areas of level 5. These camps are easy to run into and are mostly abandoned. Entrances and exits. Entrances level 5 can be entered through the offices in level 4. Other ways to enter level 5 or its sublevels. Exits. The only exits from level 5 lead to level 6 through an ornate hotel door found in some areas, or through level 5 sublevels.
Level 6, the hotel level classification survival difficulty, 4 out of 5 affects sanity greatly and has unstable boilers. Entity count, 0 out of 5. Wait, did they kill my boy Octodad? Chaos gradient, 1 out of 5. Nonlinear in some areas. Bassett-Fraser index, 4.5 out of 5. This level is impossible to live in due to sanity affecting properties. Description: Level 6 is a finite hotel, decorated in the Oriental style. Wanderers will no clip in alone, even if multiple people are in the level at the same time, everyone will be alone in the hotel. Despite being deserted, the hotel follows the routine as if open. Meals will appear in the dining area in the morning, noon, and evening, music will play in the ballroom, and beds will remake themselves. The music of which causes memory loss after extended periods of time. Despite being completely devoid of entities, multiple objects such as paintings, vases, and stained glass in this level depict an image of a Cthulhu-like being. When not being looked at, the objects change to show the beast closer to your location. When in the same room that the objects depict the beast being in, despite the absence of such an entity, you will experience a strong sensation of being watched and a powerful urge to run away. The beast is most commonly depicted in areas around the boiler room, apparently guarding the exit. Level 6 has strong effects on sanity, driving wanderers insane through isolation and terror. Level 6 does not allow objects to function as they normally would. It tends to slightly alter the use of the object. Some objects are rendered unusable, such as modern technology. Almond water causes hallucinations and temporary paranoia. For these reasons, it is recommended to get through level 6 without objects. The lobby. This area is the tamer of the two. It causes mild sanity problems and rarely causes death. The majority of the rooms in level 6 are in this area. These rooms are mostly empty hotel rooms with mild decor and furnishing. Strange objects can be found in the closets of these rooms, typically ranging from the 1920s to the 40s. The Cthulhu-like being is not seen very commonly here and does not create as much urgency. 2 elevators are here. Despite these elevators looking functional, the doors are melted together. Other rooms in this area are special rooms. These rooms are known as the diner and the ballroom. The diner. This is a large room near what appears to be the entrance. It has 12 basic tables laid out. A salad bar and dessert table are placed in the corner of the room. Despite having no living beings, this room regularly updates its food. This meaning the food never rots and food on the tables appears at every meal of the day. The ballroom is a large room at the end of the hallway. This room contains about 24 headless mannequins. When they are not being looked at, they cause a sense of being watched. This ballroom also has a constant noise of 1940s ballroom music. Staying in this room for an extended period of time can cause mental deterioration and permanent memory loss. Boiler room. The boiler room is the area outside the hotel of level 6, and extends infinitely in all directions, being filled with pipes, vents, and of course, boilers. An infinite number of other hotels exist in the boiler room, some housing other people trapped in level 6. The majority of the space in the boiler room is cramped passages between hotels, with low-hanging pipes running overhead. The floor of the boiler room is iron grating, which allows a constant dripping of water to fall through from the above floors and steam leaks to rise up from the pipes below, and the only light is from the fire in the boilers. The steam leaks create a high risk of injury, so staying in the boiler room for an extended period of time is not recommended. Communities. Due to the difficulty and nature of this level, permanent civilizations are unfeasible and impossible to sustain for lengthy periods of time. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 6 can be entered by going through ornate doors in level 5. Any of this level's sub-levels are also entrances. Exits. The only exits from level 6 are shadows in the boiler room. By going through these shadows, you will end up in level 7. Other exits include level 6's sub-levels.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through. Ah, fuck! What the fuck?
Level 7, also known as the Darkness. Level classification. Difficulty 4 out of 5. Zero light. Bottomless. Dangerous entities. Unstable in general. Entity count 4 out of 5. Large amounts of aggressive entities. Chaos gradient 3 out of 5. 0 natural photons. Bassett-Fraser index 5 out of 5. This level is extremely dangerous and will lead to your death if stayed in for a prolonged amount of time. Description: Level 7 is an infinite space in complete darkness, filled with a layered maze of railingless catwalks, pipes, and infinitely tall cooling towers. The temperature hovers around 20 degrees Fahrenheit, or -7 Celsius, so warm clothing is advised. Level 7 does not merely lack light. There is no such thing as light. Any light source taken into level 7 will cease to emit light upon entering. The main dangers in level 7 are of walking off the edge of a railingless catwalk in the darkness and falling to your death, freezing from the cold, being accosted by bandits, or getting attacked by entities. The level is inhabited by groups of bandits that climb along the pipes in the darkness, having memorized their layout. Some bandits are believed to even make use of human echolocation to navigate in the absence of light. The level is also inhabited by long-limbed humanoid entities known as pipe dwellers, which are attracted to sound. These entities should be avoided as they are carnivorous, and, while they lack strength individually, they will easily overpower wanderers as they hunt in packs. It is believed that the energy that would have become real photons in level 7 is instead emitted as neutrinos. The pipes in level 7 receive waste heat from levels all across the backrooms, which they run through cooling towers. Rather than emitting thermal radiation in the form of infrared light, the towers emit neutrinos instead. Together with level 3, level 7 completes the backroom's energy cycle, serving as the heat sink. Neutrinos seem to behave mostly as they do in our universe, passing harmlessly through most matter as if it did not even exist. This allows level 7 to absorb enormous amounts of waste heat without overheating itself. Very rarely, neutrinos can impact normal matter, energizing it as if struck by a photon. The high concentration of neutrinos in level 7 makes this relatively common, causing occasional flashes in the eyes when enough neutrinos strike the retina to overcome the minimum detection threshold. Level 7 is not a safe environment in any way, and the Uncb does not recommend spending extended periods of time in it, and if possible, it is recommended to avoid it entirely. Pipe dwellers. Level 7 has another anomalous property to it, a transformative property. Spending an extended period of time in the level will cause massive physiological changes, such as loss of pigmentation from the skin, sharpened teeth, extended and loosened limbs, and loss of eyes due to a lack of purpose, paralleling many of the adaptations seen in cave animals. These entities also regain hunger and will starve to death without proper sustenance. The physiological changes are accompanied by measurably more drastic psychological changes, which begin before the physical changes even set in. They begin with an introduction of a more primal mindset. Then, as time passes, speech ability is lessened and then removed, instincts are heightened, and eventually, all logic ceases to exist. Pipe dwellers are to be avoided at all costs, as they have regained their sense of hunger. They have come to rely on human corpses for sustenance, though, if there are no humans for an extended period of time, they will resort to cannibalism. They hunt in packs generally, using overwhelming numbers and sharpened teeth to tear flesh directly from the body, not giving regard to killing. Pipe dwellers can be killed in manners similar to humans, but they rarely ever travel alone, and if you kill one, more will likely follow. Communities. Due to the difficulty and nature of this level, permanent civilizations are unfeasible and impossible to sustain for lengthy periods of time. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 7 can be entered by going through shadows in the boiler room of level 6. Any of this level's sublevels are also entrances. Exits. The only exits from level 7 are pipes and cooling towers. By walking through the center of a cooling tower, you will end up underwater in level 8. By going through an open pipe, you will end up inside one of the buildings in level 8. Other exits include level 7's sublevels.
No.
Level 8 is an underwater Soviet town from the 1960s. The buildings are pure concrete construction, being made in the brutalist style, and have no windows. The upper floors of the buildings trap air inside them, allowing habitation. The first floor of every building is completely flooded, the second floor is usually flooded to about knee depth, and the third and any higher floors are completely dry. Most of the buildings do not contain exits, forcing most wanderers to swim from building to building searching for one that does. The water outside is salt water, being the bottom of an ocean, and is populated with various fish and other deep-sea life. Hydrothermal vents provide light and warmth in the depths but should be avoided due to the irritating chemicals and high heat they release. The ocean is apparently infinitely deep, having no surface, but strangely averages a single atmosphere of pressure despite the infinite depth. About 30 feet, 10 meters, from the ocean floor, the pressure stops decreasing and remains constant, nullifying the effects of buoyancy and making swimming above this point impossible. Sometimes Wallason can be heard in level 7 despite the level being completely unsurvivable for large aquatic mammals. Level 8 is also inhabited by a dangerous hive species. The skule lay dormant with only their jaws sticking above the surface until unsuspecting prey swims above them, at which point they will swim up and encircle the prey, completely stripping it of its flesh in seconds. It is highly recommended that patches of seafloor covered with odd, toothy protrusions be avoided at all costs. The skule are specialized into 3 types, one with a spade-like lower jaw that strips flesh from the bone, another with a more traditional mouth that tears off chunks of flesh, and a third with a mouthpiece reminiscent of the extinct sawtooth shark, which specializes in grinding flesh into bits. Once the flesh is ground into a paste, the skule will take the flesh underground. It is unknown why they do this, although some speculated that the organisms are taking the food back to their queen, which remains underground. Communities assorted camps are set up around this level in buildings. The camps can be seen in every building and are typically friendly. Entrances and exits. Entrances level 8 can be entered by going through cooling towers and pipes of level 7. Any of this level's sublevels are also entrances. Exits. The only exits from level 8 are holes in the buildings. Going through these holes leads to level 9. Some of these holes are partially below the waterline, allowing a steady flow of water to pour into level 9. Other exits include level 8 sublevels.
No crack, Gromit. We've forgotten the crack.
Level 9. The Cave. Level Classification. Difficulty 4 out of 5, Flooding, Neutral Entities. Entity count 2 out of 5, Occasional colonies of neutral entities. Chaos gradient 4 out of 5, Constant flooding and entrance changes. Bassett-Fraser Index 4.5 out of 5, this level is impossible to live in due to the entities and flooding. Description. Level 9 is an infinitely deep cave system, presumably spanning over an infinite area as well, that is gradually flooding with water. Water pours through the entrances from level 8 at a steady rate, raising the water level in the caves until it surpasses the height of the exit, at which point the exit will shift to a point further up in the cave system. The caves are extremely narrow, averaging 3 feet, 1 meter, in width and 1.5 feet, 1/2 meters, in height, although they frequently narrow to become much tighter, sometimes even becoming impassable. The majority of the caves are limestone, although some sections are made of other rocks, including a few that are partially or entirely composed of quartz crystals. Vertical ascents are the best type of cave to find in level 9 because they allow you to gain elevation quickly, which is made critical by the rising water levels. Other crystalline formations have been observed, such as crystallized almond water and carpet fluid. Extraction of these formations is considered dangerous due to the chaotic state of this level. Ferrante crystals have also been documented, but these are relatively rare. Some cave passages are inhabited by a species of spider unique to level 9. These spiders are small, only growing to be half an inch across at their largest, but weave very strong and dense webs despite their small size, which can present a significant risk of entanglement. The spiders that have reached maturity are considered harmless, but the babies are incredibly venomous and will swarm if their egg sac is disturbed. Their toxin is not lethal in small doses, only causing pain and disorientation, but will become so after approximately 30 bites. Due to a large number of baby spiders in each egg sac, many bites can be accumulated rather quickly. For this reason, it is recommended that you do your best to avoid the egg sacs at all costs, even if it means heading back the way you came and risking drowning. Rarely, there will be some passages that are not caves but rather stone corridors. These corridors, despite appearing to be much easier to navigate through than the crowned caves, should under no circumstances be utilized for navigation throughout level 9. There are reports of a number of people who have entered these corridors, but none have ever exited. These corridors are non-linear and anomalously alter in structure according to documentation. Backtracking is considered difficult due to these supernatural properties. Communities. Due to the difficulty and nature of this level, permanent civilizations are unfeasible and impossible to sustain for lengthy periods of time. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 9 can be entered through holes in the walls of some of the buildings in level 8, and from its levels. Exits. By digging up through patches of earth found in the ceilings of some of the caves, you will enter level 10. Other exits include level 9's levels.
How many of you have played musical instruments before?
Do instruments of torture count?
No.
Level 10. The Wheat Field. Level classification. Difficulty 1 out of 5, abundant food, seasonal dangers. Entity count 2 out of 5, dangerous passive entities. Chaos gradient 1 out of 5, seasonal changes. Bassett-Fraser index 1.113 out of 5, the level is quite livable if you leave before seasonal changes. Description. Level 10 is a presumably infinite field of crops. The field grows almond grains, a plant unique to the backrooms. Almond grains can be processed into almond water by grinding them into a fine powder and mixing them with water. The plants follow a seasonal growth cycle, blooming in the summer and going to seed in the fall. The level is divided into patches approximately 50 acres apiece, each of which experiences seasons out of sync with the others. In the spring the plants release mind-affecting pollen that blurs senses and in large doses acts as a hallucinogenic. Wanderers exposed to the pollen will wander aimlessly about level 10 for several days before collapsing. For this reason, it is advised to avoid the patches that are undergoing the summer season if at all possible. Sometimes, human cadavers can be found hidden within the crops, with a fine layer of pollen on their flesh. Almond grain grows exponentially faster upon corpses, although the almond water produced from these almond grains is unpleasant to drink. If an affected wanderer is escorted out of level 9 and washed of the pollen before they collapse, they can be cured of the effect. However, they will have long-lasting changes in mentality, including increased docility and a desire to maintain the backrooms. The longer a wanderer was under the influence of the pollen, the stronger these changes become. Occasionally, barns can be found in the fields of level 10. These barns vary in condition from decaying to brand new. Typically, these structures are not inhabited, but you may also discover silos filled with almond grain alongside them. Near the assumed center at level 10, you will find that a majority of silos in proximity to local settlements will be emptied out. The insides of the barns appear to simply not exist, containing only a pitch-black void. What happens to people who enter the barns is unknown. Exactly how these barns are constructed is beyond the knowledge of researchers. During the fall season of level 10, large biological harvesting machines will collect almond grains. Moving at speeds topping 50 miles per hour, the harvesters pose a significant threat to wanderers. These harvesters will relocate the harvested almond grain and store them in nearby silos. Once these silos are full, they will take the contents of the silo and take them into the barns. It is theorized that once the almond grains are taken into the barn, they will be processed and distributed to levels as fresh almond water. Communities. Uncb Agricultural Community. The Uncb Agricultural Community is a community populated by approximately 40 wanderers. They are a nomadic group, as they travel to harvest rocky areas that grow and harvest almond grain to be distributed to stores throughout the backrooms. This is an economic powerhouse for the Uncb, so there have been attempts by opposing communities to prevent further development. Assorted camps. Several nomadic communities populate level 10. These communities usually plunder nearby silos or harvest almond grain from fields in the fall season, typically both. The aforementioned communities can vary from friendly to hostile, so it is suggested to approach them with caution. Assorted camps. Several nomadic communities populate level 10. These communities usually plunder nearby silos or harvest almond grain from fields in the fall season, typically both. The aforementioned communities can vary from friendly to hostile, so it is suggested to approach them with caution. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 10 can be entered by digging up through patches of earth found in the ceilings of some of the caves in level 9. Exits. Isolated doors can be found in level 10, which when opened and passed through will lead to level 11.
Ah yes, Perry the Platypus. I will now unveil to you my cock and ball torturinator!
Level 11. The Neighborhood. Level classification. Difficulty 3 out of 5. This level, due to the entities and hunger, is a notably difficult level. Entity count 3 out of 5. Level 11 is populated by a large quantity of entities, especially near the slums. Chaos gradient 2 out of 5, due to acidic rain and the chaotic architecture. This is a chaotic level. Bassett-Fraser index 2.6 out of 5. This level is especially anomalous in comparison to other levels. Description. Level 11 is a suburban neighborhood that is immensely large. It is solely comprised of residential structures that vary in size, typically 1- and 2-story houses. There is no weather, nor is there a day-night cycle. Level 11 is completely dark at midnight, with the only light source being rows of street lamps. Death myths will linger around the glowing amber light these street lamps emanate. The level is typically quiet. The silence is only broken by the chirping of crickets and the occasional pitter-patter of carpet fluid dripping from above. Do not be confused, those aren't stars. The night sky is actually a vast metallic megastructure known as the Kabul Matrix. The fluorescent lights laced between the tungsten carbide beams serve as stars in this artificial sky. Black metallic pipes stretch across the Kabul Matrix. These pipes contain carpet fluid and will occasionally burst open and rain down on the houses below. These houses have a plethora of anomalous properties which include the interior layout being larger than the exterior structure, having grass yards inside instead of wooden floorboards, and chandeliers that defy gravity by hanging upwards from the floor. Other architectural anomalies have been observed, such as stairways leading to nowhere and entire houses floating across the sky. Typically, when one enters level 11, they will enter near the center of the level. The quality of structures in the level gradually degrades as one ventures further from the center, meaning that the center consists of wealthy gated communities and the surrounding area is made up of low-quality slums. The latter having a noticeable increase in entity count in comparison to the center houses. It should be noted the center at level 11 is devoid of food and, anomalously, you will get hungrier faster in this level than in other levels. The slums have a minuscule amount of food that can be found within cabinets inside houses, but is still not enough for you to sustain yourself on. As a result, you will have to venture past the slums in search of a food source. After passing the slums, you will reach the industrial sector, an expanse of industrial structures that surrounds the slums. The industrial sector is made up of large factories that tower over the landscape. These factories spew out a hazy gas that pollutes the air. The fluorescent lights of the Kabul Matrix cannot be seen from the industrial sector, as they are veiled by an expanse of grey clouds. This section of level 11 will rain down carpet fluid, which has been turned acidic by the sulfuric smoke, more frequently than other areas of level 11. The industrial sector is inhabited by a race of entities known as the Elites. Once you enter their territory, they will offer you a position at their factories and will pay you in rations. These factories produce unsettling anomalous objects. The intention for the mass production of these strange objects is a mystery. Beyond the industrial sector is an expanse of rocky terrain devoid of any residential structures or life. The terrain stretches for approximately 60,000 miles before ending at an enormous wall consisting entirely out of houses. Attempting to traverse this barrier is considered pointless. Communities. The Bavarian Elites. The Bavarian Elites are a group of shadow-like entities that inhabit the industrial sector which they call New Bavaria. They operate the factories and industrial structures that make up the sector. There is little information on their operations as only a handful of wanderers have documented their activities. It is assumed these factories have an ulterior motive that is only known to the Elites. It is said that the Elites will take you in and give you rations if you decide to work in their factories. The working conditions are subpar, but it is the only way you can sustain yourself there. After working at the factories for a week, they will start issuing you chemicals. They claim the chemicals will prevent depression and increase productivity. After taking these chemicals, you will notice an absence of emotion and an urge to work. It has been observed that after a month, users of this chemical will begin to become almost machine-like, working without sleep until they eventually die of exhaustion. At this point, people of this stage are no longer considered flesh and blood humans, but rather biological machines only existing to serve the Elites. At that point, people affected by these chemicals are considered instances of Entity 12. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 11 can be entered through isolated doors held up only by their frame found in level 10. These doors will lead to the door of one of the houses in the gated communities that comprise the center at level 11. You cannot exit back through these doors. Exits. In the expanse of rocky terrain that separates the industrial sector and the wall, you may discover large metal frames of skyscrapers extruding from the earth. These frames will have a metal door that, when entered, will lead to level 12.
I think his head just cracked, let's confirm. Oh, his belly saved him. What's with that music though? What do we hear, boss? Oh, goodness gracious.
Level 12. The City Survival Classification Survival Difficulty. 4 out of 5 the levels is populated by large numbers of hostile entities. Entity count, 5 out of 5 a fuck ton of hostile entities. Chaos gradient, 4 out of 5. Portal shatter causes hostile entities to frequently appear in random locations. Bassett-Fraser index, 4.3 out of 5 this level is highly anomalous, avoid at all costs. Description Level 12 is the ruins of an infinite city that was desolated by fallout from the supernova of the Eye of God. The landscape is mostly composed of rubble, crumbling remnants of walls, and twisted rebar poking up from the ground. After the supernova, the ozone layer was decimated by the blast. The sunlight is blinding and lethal, throwing every shadow into sharp relief and forcing day travel to follow the cover of the standing ruins. Skyscrapers have been either decimated completely or reduced to a remnant of their ground floor by debris. Concrete basements can be inhabited by wanderers seeking shelter in this wasteland. Underground structures are still unsafe, so it is advised to stay cautious. The various entities which inhabit level 12 have been known to hide from the sun in basements and cellars. As a result, wanderers will need to search the area before setting up camp. Desperate wanderers will often clear out entity nests by igniting fire salt charges. During the night, entities will leave their diurnal shelters and roam freely, which makes traversing the debris-littered surface an even more dangerous feat. Portal shatter from the fractured Eye of God beam portal continuously deposits entities from other levels into level 12. Wanderers are advised to avoid areas where the floating embers seem to be congregating, as a new portal may soon form and dump more entities into the level. Wanderers usually have two options: moving on the surface during the day or during the night. Daytime travel is ideal for avoiding entities, but the risk of being scorched by encroaching rays of light is ever present. Wanderers traveling by day should always find shelter by noon when the sun will be directly overhead, so they can wait until the shadows pass to the other side of the walls before continuing their trek. Wanderers can traverse the surface at night to avoid being scorched but risk being dispatched by entities. Nighttime travelers are advised to be armed, mobile, and able to flee across the jutting wreckage at any moment. Level 12 also includes a number of hazardous areas such as lakes of molten metal which remain from fragments of the Eye of God that melted down during entry. These lakes radiate extreme heat and can reflect the deadly sunlight during the day. These metallic lakes should be avoided at all costs. Additionally, a few intact fragments of the Eye of God can be discovered in this level. These immense pieces of wreckage are heavily infested with entities, especially the notorious lens fragment, which serves as the center of the portal shatter effect. Although the lens fragment contains the beam portal, which would be of immense value with its ability to connect to any level, the entity count within the fragment is far too high to be dealt with, even by large, heavily armed groups. Communities Uncb Research Headquarters. The Uncb Research Headquarters, a mineshaft under the original base before the desolation of the level, is an underground facility dug out of the rock beneath level 12. It is mostly populated by scientists with a slight minority of soldiers, administrators, and assorted staff. It is responsible for the management of all Uncb scientific projects and is home to the Uncb's most important experiments. The exact details of the bunker are unknown, and rumors range from unethical entity-human hybridization to costly equipment such as particle accelerators. Since the Uncb has not granted archivists access to the facility, these rumors can neither be confirmed nor denied. B Outpost. Boha B Outpost, used for storing and selling goods both legal and illegal. It is operated out of the remaining bottom floors of a ruined skyscraper, with a bazaar of UV blocking tents set up around it. Several Jade Razor clan mercenaries under contract to the B police the outpost and guard against entities. Most commonly known as the center of the flat gas incident of 06. PSMO Bunker 001 Post Supernova Mining Organization. Bunker 001, often shortened to PSMO 001, is a bunker located deep underground dedicated to the extraction of steel from the Dyson Sphere remnants. This has proved to be a dangerous, yet profitable, endeavor. Entrances and exits. Entrances. Level 12 can be entered through doors found in the ruined skyscrapers in the outskirts of level 11. Exits. Entering the remains of an apartment building leads to level 13.
Well, that was, something.
Yellow.
Agreed.
Yeah.